Hey y'all, thanks for popping in today to listen to my New Year's, not resolution, but proclamation. How about that? I decided a few years ago to stop doing resolutions like many people have, and instead I'm focusing on reflecting on the year that has been and then thinking about a word or a phrase that I'm going to follow headed into the new year. And if you've been a follower of me for any time now, we've been through a cycle or two of different words, and the one from this past year was reset, and I tried to live up to that in all of aspects of my life the best I could. But for this year, I've decided to lean into the phrase go with the flow, and therefore my word is actually just going to be flow. And part of what I've been thinking about as I came up with this idea is in my work with teenagers in the college process, there is a lot of anxiety, stress, anticipation. Honestly, there's a lot of comparison despair. There's a lot of feeling like we're, as teens, not good enough because of colleges offering rejections as opposed to acceptances at times. And I think that I worry about teenagers getting so wrapped up in that, making meaning in their lives and telling the story that they aren't good enough because they didn't get admitted to X, Y, and Z school. So to put it into context in my own life, I'm thinking about all the things, the trials and tribulations that me and my family have gone through this year, and this has been a significant year for those. And I've been thinking about the ways in which we respond and react. And I want to remind us as parents and trusted adults that we need to be teaching our teenagers that the only thing they can truly control are their actions and reactions. And so that's where going with the flow is kind of leaning into this and bridging these concepts that I'm talking about here. So I'm thinking about an analogy and how I'm trying to live in this idea of flow. And I hope that maybe this will help some of you as parents and guardians as you're working with teenagers going through, whether they're seniors who've been hearing news and maybe not all of it good, or whether they're just starting the journey and you're trying to already send a message about how this process won't be the ultimate definition of who they are. So my analogy is this. If you are somebody who likes the ocean, I love the ocean, and when I was much younger, and then when my son was younger, we did a lot of playing in the waves whenever the waves were good. And the analogy is, if you ever have done this, you know that if you are standing in the water and you are rigid as a big wave comes and hits you, it hits you hard, and it can be kind of a knockout and a punch that isn't necessarily pleasant. But if you're more relaxed and you're kind of going into the wave and going with the flow, then you're riding the wave as opposed to being taken out by it. And I think that analogy really helps me frame this idea of how we react to situations. And again, we want to teach our teens this, but now parents and guardians, I want you to hear this too. They're watching us. And so if we aren't able to model that behavior for them about how we make meaning out of a circumstance, or the meaning we apply to a decision, or how we react to somebody else's decision that impacts us, is important in terms of how we are letting it happen to us, so to speak. So I don't want everybody to think I'm saying let's roll over and be doormats by any means. I'm just really encouraging some thought around the idea of what are we demonstrating for our teens? What do we want them to learn about how to lean into situations that may be uncomfortable, that may be difficult, that may be disappointing? These are all very important life lessons. And I know, as a parent myself, we want to protect from that as much as we possibly can. And I will tell you honestly, a lot of times this process, applying to college specifically and getting denied from a college specifically, is often one of the first times we see such a big impact, such a big no in their lives. And that's not always universally true, obviously. Sometimes they don't make a team. Sometimes they didn't get selected for the cast. Those kinds of things happen. They've been told no, perhaps, in other scenarios. But this one feels bigger to a lot of teenagers, I feel like. And I want us, again, as parents and guardians and trusted adults in their lives, to model for them how our reaction to it is only really impacting us. And I tell our seniors all the time, if the answer is no, then grieve briefly, but then it's time to move on. Because there are other places out there that really, really, really want you to be a student on their campus and in their community. And if you, again, don't let a no decision define you. Heck, even a yes decision doesn't define who you are. It's just great to hear. But keep in mind that the more we can be less rigid, more malleable and going with the waves and riding the waves, the better able we are to process and deal with the hits that come. And I really think that's an important lesson, and one that I'm really going to carry with me into 2026. And I hope that you'll think about your past year and what is your word going to be that you're living by this year. We'd love to hear it from you, actually. Drop it in the comments and let us know. Happy New Year, everybody.